Welcome to the unboxing of 7TV Fantasy. I'm Karl Perrotton, MD of Crooked Dice Games Design Studio, and this is Will Clark, a member of the 7TV Development Fantasy team at Edge Hill. This will be Will's first time opening the box and looking at the goodies inside. So we're going to give you a quick run through of what's new in the box, what's different from some of the previous games, and really just froth at all of the lovely things inside. So let's fire away.
Okay.
Now you can watch now as a grown man struggles. Well, the first thing I can tell you is it's wonderfully shrink wrapped. The artwork on the front of the box that we have behind us is by Dave Needham, and he's done illustrations right the way throughout. Okay.
Ooh.
So we are packed with goodness.
Packs this time.
Yes, we've got 3 different packs. There's 230 profile cards in here. So this is our biggest set in kind of weight and content.
All of them.
We've got. What did you work on with these? Can you?
I remember working on the stars were the Charming Rogue, the Ambitious Usurper, and I also remember working on the Doppelganger and the Direwolf.
So you kind of had a mix of stars and co-stars and extras, I think.
Yeah, I think mine were mostly historical fantasy.
Okay, so we've got 6 new genres in the set.
Specialty, yeah.
So, mythic, epic, sword and sorcery, folk tale, and historical as well. So there's loads in there. I think there's lots of villains. There's loads of monsters in there as well.
Yeah.
Let's try opening these up. I'm going to use scissors this time.
Minotaur right on the front as a monster.
So we've got
Borrow the scissors to open these as well.
So we've got our stars and co-stars in there. We've got the Monster Hunter on the front of that. We've got a load of villainous extras in there, and this whole deck, I think, yes, it's the neutral extras. Healer, Giant Slug, Fairy. We've changed some of the rules for mounted this time, so we've now got a horse, but we don't have vehicle cards in this set. What have you got there?
I have opened the villainous one. So, got like the Tormented Seer here.
So if any of you are familiar with 7TV Fantasy, everything you need is on that profile card. The special effects and everything are on the back, stats and attacks are on the front. And my fairy that I've got here has got one of our new attack types as well, that we'll talk about in a separate video, which is presence attacks. So they are kind of strength of will and kind of quirky character type attacks that we've got. 230 to choose from. So they cross those 6 genres and of basically anything that you want to play, whether it's a pen and paper fantasy or...
Yeah, almost impossible to choose from how many we've got.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
A lot.
Right, what else have we got? Go on then, you next.
Well, we've got all the dice and all the little tokens. Was it Peter who did want green?
Plot point tokens, yes. Peter, when we did 7TV Pulp, Peter was very disappointed we didn't have green plot point tokens. So we've got those.
I mean, green's my favourite colour, so I'm happy with it.
With the dice that we've got in there, there are 6 just basic black ones that you can use for everything, but you've got 9 in this set. So we have got 3 purple gem dice here in there, which we've kind of identified for use with the new magic system. You get a magic pool of dice that you can use when you're casting your spells for the turn. So something a little bit different in there for those.
So these are also magic as well.
Oh, these are some of my favourites.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about the magic
You're not
system.
part of that team?
I was not part of that team, so I do not know how it works.
Okay, so we've got 6 different little ditty spell books in here. This is the Book of Life, and each of these little grimoires that we've called them have got 6 spells of differing difficulty and range. There's a mix of attack spells and defense spells, and then a general buff spell and normally a nice powerful one in there as well. And they're trying to be kind of cinematic effects, really. So they're kind of almost extra star qualities or special effects, but they can only be accessed through the magic user special effect. So there are people that have got access to that, and then access to some of these grimoires, and that differs depending on the profile. So a monk might have access to the Book of Life, and a necromancer might have access to the Scrolls of the Dead, for example. So they're a new addition for 7TV Fantasy, and again beautifully illustrated by Dave Needham, and all of the spells were generated by the development team, and the new magic system kind of bolts into that. So what have we got next in there?
Yeah, I remember when originally you were talking about magic points, which I thought was a fun idea, but
We had various different versions of the magic system throughout the kind of throughout the process, and it was just seeing how that balanced and worked with the other systems that were already in there. So we didn't have sort of different layers of mechanics, and that really came out in playtesting. So we drew back a little bit. And if you've played any of our first edition games like Seventh Voyage, you'll probably recognise kind of some of the mechanics in there. It's quite simple, and it's you have to basically reach a difficulty score for the spell. So the mechanic is very similar to what you would use to hit. We try to keep that kind of standardised throughout. Now I've just opened up here the little accessory cards. So we've got, again, if you're familiar with 7TV, you will, in previous decks we've had the countdown deck, which is the essentially mechanic which drives the length of the game. For Pulp we call that cliffhanger, and for Fantasy we've called them Trilogy cards. So we've got our Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3 cards. So they determine the length of the game, and again the team generated all of these. So we've got some wonderful fantasy in kind of a cinematic terms, so practical effects, fast forward, wandering monster. So we touch on that kind of pen and paper in there. I don't know what you've got there, Will.
yeah, I've got the for Act 1, that's what they're called. Yeah, I think I worked on Act 3 for these. I can't quite remember, but I think I did.
They're the kind of the big bang effect
Yeah.
towards the end of the game. Act 1 tends to be about movement, Act 2 is kind of combat, and then Act 3, or the finale, all goes mad. We've got all manner of goblinry kicking off at the end there, so they're quite fun. And then we've also got artifact cards. Artifact cards are the equivalent of gadgets in our previous games in it, so they are low-level kind of magic items. And again, something a little bit different for this one, with a little bit of extra production value. Each one is illustrated in its own right. So what's that? The Amulet of Protection in there, the Bottle of Lightning, all illustrated by
Holy
Dave.
Hand Grenade.
Excellent. Mirrored Shield I've got in there. Elven Waybread. There's a lot of that in Act 2.
I think I worked on the Mandrake route as well.
Oh, I quite like that one.
Because I remember doing some research about mandrakes and being very upset because they used to basically kill dogs to harvest them.
Really?
Yeah, because the first thing that heard the mandrake roots cry would die. So they'd make sure the
Yes.
dog was closer to the mandrake than they were.
Oh, it's like the canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah.
That is a particularly sinister one. We've got clearly gone grimdark with fantasy in there. We've so there's loads of those. There's 20 of those in the set, and again mirroring what we did with Pulp, we've got 20 Macguffin cards. So these are our kind of artifacts of power, and the thing that the whole kind of plot revolves around what the casts are getting after. And these are kind of iconic items from inspired by kind of film and literature in there.
Like Medusa's head here. That one. That one immobilizes anyone touched by the beam template, which
Oh, new
Yes.
templates.
one of
Yes,
these,
all nice, nicely picked out.
I think,
It is.
possibly this rectangular one.
That's the one. Yeah. So there's some new weapon effects and new templates in there to kind of coincide
Yeah.
with these. So yes, Ring of Power, Merlin's staff, is in there, the Hydra's teeth, the glaive, Excalibur. So these are our kind of our top level items. Again, all illustrated by Dave, all generated by the team. Did you work on those?
Yeah, I think we all had one. I can't remember which one I worked on. It was
a while ago.
I think
it was early in year one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
What have we got next? Okay, I'm going to go with templates then, since you've interrupted those. So, in our previous games, for many years, we've managed to use all of the weapon effects kind of around one big blast template, and had various kind of dimensions of that. For fantasy, we wanted to do something different and really hark back to some of the kind of the older war games and their fancy templates. So we've got individual blast templates that you might recognise. Again, illustrated by Dave, produced by Solicitor Precision in there, and colour printed. These are lovely little things.
Yeah, they look so nice.
We played about with some different materials, and there was a perspex which was quite nice, but actually that slightly kind of mottled aged effect seemed to really work for the sort of the vague retro old school style that we've gone with. So 2 of those cut out there in the middle so you can place it easily over your miniature as well. That was kind of a handy thing to do. We've had arc and flame templates in the past. Now we've gone a bit bigger because we need to represent dragon breath, and I think the elephant also spouts water at you, if I remember rightly, using that. So that gets a lot of use. So that's a slightly bigger teardrop flame template. And then what did you had the beam there earlier?
Yeah,
that's the
got the
little
beam
lightning
here.
bolt.
I love how the beam template looks. I mean, I just love lightning effects. So this is so cool.
Don't know, it's a cloudy kind of mass in there. That's got the spangles on it. And then we've got another one, the barrier template. A little protractor kind of one. Again, you sit in the middle. And that's often used for kind of defensive stuff or to kind of push people off. So yeah, 5 MDF colour templates in the set now.
So next in my box is these, which have all the new effects.
Yes, and the new statuses.
Yeah, new statuses.
So what have we got in there? So we've got basic health loss in there. The new statuses are immobilised.
Immobilised.
For freezing you
with
in space with the Medusa. I think uses that. We've still got the old classics like dominated and stunned and weakened, but we've also got captured and poisoned is a new one. You do not want to get poisoned. That's 2 plot points, everybody. So we've got those, and then we've got 6 Macguffin, objective tokens along the bottom there as well. So they fit quite nicely in with our kind of encounters as well, if you need kind of numbered tokens, and all printed on the back as well. So if you are using those objective tokens and you don't want the numbers to be revealed for particular encounters, that kind of that helps. So the other distracted is the other one. I forgot about distracted because that gets used with the presence attacks a lot.
That's very useful for the presence attacks. I love the designs on these as well, like the little spider web.
Yes, it's always a challenge, kind of designing these things to make sure that they're different from one another and different from the other genre symbols that we've got.
A lot of symbols in one game.
Yeah, I think with this, being able to print these in colour this time round really helps because you're getting a little bit of a difference as well as the icon.
Yeah, you can definitely tell some of them apart just by glancing because of the colour.
Yeah. So again, Solicitor Precision helps out with all those, and they're a great little addition to there. Oh, look, I found the most important thing now.
The little postcard.
Postcard and leaflet, and telling you all about the hard work of the development team they've done over the past kind of 2 years. Check out the fantasy blog, which kind of details the experience that the team have gone through. So don't forget to read that.
I remember when we got our pulp box sets, mine had like 20 of these in.
You got extras.
Yeah, handed them out to all my family and friends.
Handy Christmas presents. Right, we've put in a quick reference guide here. In the past, it's been on the back of some of the guide booklets, but actually, with the extra bits and pieces we needed to get in, it was actually slightly better and more useful to put it in a little handy leaflet.
Also, the on fire status.
On fire. Got to have on fire.
Yeah.
Always popular.
I mean, how can you not? How can you have dragons and not have on fire?
Exactly. There you go. Template. So yeah, quick reference sheet for you in there with all the kind of basic rules, so you don't have to keep going back to your.
Got some fun little artwork in it too, like
What have we
Mjolnir.
got in there? Yes, that's again some of that's taken from the cards. That's the wand of the White Witch, I think, is on there as well. So that and all about the statuses on the back. Now, what about I got this one? This is a new book for you. So this is the encounter guide in here, which I know Will worked on. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Now, Will, was it Battlefield in there? But
I think I did Enchanted Forest.
yes.
I know we all worked on 2, but I can't remember the other one I worked on.
There's 25 encounters in here. If any of you have got 70V Pulp, then you would have been familiar with the Peril deck. And that just allowed you to add lots of kind of extra tone to your the kind of the 6 basic episodes that you play, or chapters as we call them in fantasy. But we really need a little bit more room. They're a bit squeezed in on the cards. But these, as like Deathly Marshes, there's one in there. Enchanted Forest that you did, On the Road, Labyrinth, Siege, Raiders. So lots of them have are triggered by when you interact with an objective token or when you make particular actions. So if you move twice, you may trigger a trap or something like that. And they've got often little D6 tables on the back which refer to the numbered objective tokens.
I think the other one I worked on was Signs and Portents, this one.
Ah,
Because
yes.
Sarah and I had a lot of trouble naming some of them.
That's a good kind of sort of mythic historical fantasy, and there's oracles and things
Yeah.
going on with the signs and portents, if I remember rightly. So yeah, Tavern Crawl, got to have a Tavern Crawl in there, Wizard's Tower, Wilderness Encounter, so you know, as ever, we also give a loving nod to, you know, the world's favourite RPG, which has inspired a lot of this, and again, illustrated by Dave. I can't sing his praises highly enough with the stuff that he's done on here. So that's a completely new book in the set.
It's got some fun, like, model sets in it as well.
Yes, yeah, we
This
tried to
one's-
illustrate it. That was one thing that COVID gave to us. We couldn't get together really to do as many photo shoots as we wanted to do for this, but that's Kevin Dallimore who provided that and has provided photographs kind of throughout for me.
They all look so cool.
Want to get
Like,
playing?
all the artwork in this is just so amazing.
It just ties together really nicely. We've just, you know, having kind of Dave's work all over it, I think just ties it together really nicely.
Some little artwork for the marshes as well. With a thing with a big mouth.
Thing with a big mouth.
Thing with a big mouth.
A Tugia, I think. I've probably pronounced that hideously wrong.
Oh,
So-
man.
All right, let's tip these out. So here's the meat and potatoes here. Here are our 3 guides that we've got. If you're familiar with what we've had in the past, we have the director's guide, the casting guide, and the producer's guide. That's got the basic rules in it. That's got sort of how to work through and set up and the options for your chapters and your games, and it's also got some wonderful examples drawing from our faux studio in the back of classic features. In there, I think you've got the Robin Hood one. Is that
Yes,
right, Sally?
I was involved in many things Robin Hood in this
Yes, you
game.
were. So there are a dozen of those, I think, in the back of the book. So
Figure out for that one.
there you go. Sinbad, there's a kind of a faux fantasy one in there, a prophecy with a. So these are all inspired by some of the back catalogue from our faux studio, Minerva Aventura, that are in the back of that, as well as the basic setups for your games and chapters.
Yeah. Again, the art. This one's just got like a film poster.
Yes, we commissioned some of those as well. There's 2 or 3 in that book. We've got at the front, I think we've got a little bit of background about the studio and about their kind of trilogy of Orsa movies, their barbarian priestess in there, and a little picture of our film producer Donatella De Lorenzo. So again, there's some meta and stuff in the back of the book for you as well. And then finally, the casting guide. everything you need to do about setting up your cast. So the models that you can choose and pick up. A little bit about the 6 new genres in there: epic, folktale, historical, mythic, pen and paper, and sword and sorcery. So covering a breadth of those. Were you involved in the kind of the research and the sort of collating of these until we got the right terms?
Yeah, we all had to watch a few like films or TV shows. I had Robin of Sherwood and Arthur of Britain for mine.
A lot of Robin Hood. Yeah.
And I think the Merlin miniseries that had the Jurassic Park guy in.
Is that Sam Neill, that one?
Yes, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, yes, okay.
I'm bad with names.
No, there's the first stage that we've done with all of the projects with the university has been a kind of research one where you sit down and just absorb as much good and quite a lot of bad fantasy kind of productions to get a sense and feel of the genre in there. And there was a lot of collating and post-it note work, I would imagine, coming up and distilling our 6. So that's got a little description of all of the 230 profiles in the back there, how to customise yourselves, and then the special effects that we've got, and some list by genre. So that's a kind of a good guide for setting up your thing, your casts.
Yeah, I'm always amazed. Like it was with Pulp as well, but there's just so many things, so many pages of like characters and models to choose from.
We started off with a good list, and then it was very much the pen and paper side of the genre in there. Introduced so many individual monsters that you couldn't. 70 often goes broad, and we like to make a generic guard or a generic over. You can't really do that with a chimera or a
like a giant spider is a giant spider. Like you probably could make it a bit less specific with just giant bug, but then like giant spiders have different things from the giant slug. So
there's different types of spider in there as well. So that's our huge monstrous Shelob style one, but then we've got smaller kind of dungeon vermin of tunnel spiders. So there's plenty in there, I think, for you to be able to build really endless amount of casts. We always say 7TV isn't just one game. There's hundreds of different both genres and profiles that you can pick from in this one.
More great art.
Again,
models.
Mr. Dallimore, Kevin Dallimore. I'll show you the back of the box as well, just as a bit as we sign off in there. And we've given some movie quotes in there from our thing around the edge as well. So that's everything that you've got in there. Our biggest box yet. Your postman will swear about us as they carry it up the path because it's a heavy old thing.
Yeah, we were given these earlier, and all of us were just like, "Oh wow, this weighs a lot."
There's a lot in there.
Yeah, so much in there.
Thank you, Will. And thanks again to Edge Hill and the Student Opportunities Fund for helping support the project and being able for us to kind of get to this point 2 years on. I hope you enjoy the box and the unboxing as well. It's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
See you, Lauren.